I just wanted to make a recording for the channel. So this is Damon. Hello, YouTube. The topic I wanted to discuss, I guess with myself, and maybe if any other alters come, is what it's like to have DID. What it's like to have DID for me is there's a lot of confusion, a lot of disorientation, and a lot of confusion. And so I just wanted to discuss my feelings about it. And I'd love to hear from the audience in any way. Feel free to comment or shoot us an email. Our email is anonymousbeats8@gmail.com. So that's anonymousbeats8@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you guys. Get some feedback on our videos. Our very new channel. And our altar, this is just a place for our altars to just be altars. So for me, today I just wanted to talk about what it's like and being diagnosed with DID. Currently, as far as I know, our diagnosis with DID came about a year ago, in August, so not quite a year, so it's relatively new still. And for me, it's just the fragmentation. Our DID system is polyfragmented, meaning that the number of altars we have is very high, and for us, the number of altars names coincide. So it's like there are different altars with the same name, and I don't know what that means. I'm not a therapist or anything. I'm just a lived experience altar. And I call myself an altar because as far as I know, in our system we don't have a host. That's just because there's so many of us that are so strong. This is how I understand it. I also am still in therapy, obviously, and just recently started therapy again, so I really don't know the science behind having DID other than my own lived experience. But I know for us, like, it doesn't really feel like there's a main altar. I can only speak for myself. I just know that there's just a lot of names and a lot of voices that talk to me, that I hear about or hear through the grapevine, or we do a lot of audio recordings to help our system understand what's happening throughout the day, or what's happening throughout therapy sessions. We found that very helpful. But I guess the meat and potatoes of it is what it's really like day to day for me. And I think what's the most distressing is that I don't have a lot of memory of what goes on during the day. Like today, for example, I don't know what we did today. I know that I'm sitting at home and I don't know, the voices say we were really productive, so that's really good, and that's all I get. You know, in certain situations, like, that can be pretty distressing, because I don't really know where the body's been, or what we've been doing, or how we've been doing it. And so for me, that's pretty distressing, because I know that's not normal. You know, I think for me, it's really just being so different from a lot of outside people, is where I kind of get twisted and I kind of trip over myself, because for me, it's really difficult. It's really distressing and difficult to be so different, to not know what goes on during the day, to not know what goes on when I hear about that the body did something, or another altar came and talked to so-and-so, and I talked to so-and-so on the outside, and they're like, hey, I met this altar, and like, it almost to me feels like to have DID is basically being so many different people that aren't yourself. that I can't classify as myself. And it's like I almost don't have control of the body. I don't have control of my actions. But yet on the outside, you have all these therapists and group therapists that say, in treatment, you need to learn to self-regulate. You need to learn to emotional distress tolerance and all these different types of therapies. But it's like, I don't really have a say. At the end of the day, like, in my opinion, it feels like I don't really have a say. I can only control myself, but not the body. So then it just gets really frustrating for me, because it's like, I want to control these other alters and be like, hey, don't act like that, but I can't. It's like I can't help it, because the body's not mine at that time. It is that alter. So it's like, and I can't talk to that said alter. And so that happened before, is like, we were at a treatment facility and something happened, and from the outside people, I just get these stories from people, and I have no memory of it. I have no recollection. Sometimes they share things with me, but most of the times they don't. And so for me, it's just like I have to live with that. And I think that's the hardest thing to live with having DID, is just the fact that the body does things and I just have to accept it. And that's just really hard for me, because it's like, what do you do with that? What am I supposed to do with that? Because I have my therapist currently who's saying things like, you're supposed to move away from the trauma. Move away from the trauma. And that's what I hear her say in the recording. And then it's just like, what does that even mean? Because they're trying to tell us, move away from the trauma. Move away from the idea that the past is the past. And now you are safe. And to me, it's just so dismissive, because it's like, you don't get it. Don't you wish I could do that? To me, it's just so upsetting, because it's like, don't you wish I could? What do you think I'm trying to do? Like, for the longest time, I was in denial. I didn't even know I had DID. Like, I didn't know about these alters. And now I do, and now it feels like it's just ruined my life. Like, I'm not where I'm supposed to be in my career. I'm not where I'm supposed to be anywhere. I'm not anything. I'm literally just like this deadbeat who works like crazy, but nothing seems to work out. Very hard worker. I'm an avid scientist. Like, that's like my thing. But I'm angry, because I don't get to do it, because I'm not given a chance because of mental illness. And not being in control of my body, not being in control of the alters, like, just basically on my knees begging these alters to just cooperate. Just on my knees begging these alters just to please behave, so that we can get our life back. And that's just where we're at right now. And that's why music is so important, because it's an outlet. It's a healthy outlet for these alters that don't know any better. The ones that don't know, because that's really where we're at least from what I can understand, is where we're at currently is, and this is Lionel, by the way, where we're at currently in our treatment is, a lot of these alters are presenting with memories and body memories, emotional flashbacks, or just flashbacks in the present time, at least in session. And I'm finding that they're distressed, and that's what I hear in these recordings, and just having so much confusion from that, not really knowing what's going on with the body at any given time, is what I'm currently struggling with, because I can't live my daily life as a scientist while this is happening. But I can't do anything about it to stop it, because I go to a therapist and they're like, just ground. And it's like, just ground? How? Because of these alters, like, I'm not in control of them. I also am not in control of them. That's what Damon was saying. Like, we can't control them, and when we can't control them, we can't communicate with them, because a lot of them, some of them, it seems like, don't even speak English. Some of them speak different languages, and so if I don't speak that language, it's like, how the heck am I supposed to communicate? And it's just really, 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 really frustrating. So that's where I'm at with DID, and the current struggles I'm having is, it feels like all these people on the outside, they're trying to help, and trying to tell us, different things that we could try to get better, but at the end of the day, we just take what works and leave the rest. And that's what we're learning in recovery. And stand up for ourselves. At least I'm going to stand up for myself, because I deserve it. And this is Damon. I'm going to stand up for myself, because I know at the end of the day, like, no one else is going to do that for me. And so if someone is crossing a boundary, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to say, hey, I don't like that. I'm going to be respectful. I'm not going to scream or yell, but I'm going to be firm with my boundaries, because I deserve it. And all these other alters and the body deserves it too. So that's what I think is important. But at the end of the day, like, these therapists can say all that they want. They can say all the time, grounding and regulation. But they don't know what it's like to be so out of control. And, that's me being codependent, is just that compulsive need for control and this false sense of ability of being in control. Because it's all false. It's all an illusion. And I think that's where my also biggest struggle is just these illusions that I've created for myself throughout time. Is when the trauma was so bad, I would create an illusion that I can control certain things, like where my brain goes, what I think about, what do I want to do when I grow up. And now it's like I'm being told that, like, the body's all grown up and, like, it didn't happen. All these things that I put my mind, body, and soul into, they didn't even happen, or they're not happening. And so then I get frustrated, because it's like, when is this actually going to work out for us? Why is this not working out? And then that's an illusion. That's a codependent distortion or cognitive distortion, because it's like, you really don't have a lot of control over your life. But what I have control over is how I respond to the life that's being given to me. And that's where I am at in my recovery, and I'm very thankful for that. And I'm grateful for today, because I'm not in control of what is happening in my life right now. I'm not in control of being homeless. I'm not in control of, on the verge of losing everything. I'm not in control of that. But what I can control is reaching out to people and saying, hey, what about this? What about that? Resources, and how we're going to eat tonight, taking care of myself physically, all that is what is in my control. And that's what I'm grateful for at the end of the day. And that's what I feel like I need to focus on more. And that's what I'm trying to do more of today. And I just appreciate this safe space that we've created for ourselves and myself. And so that's what it's like to have DID. If you have any questions, please feel free to email, and I can make another podcast to answer those questions. I could do a Q&A. That's what I was hoping to do next. But this was just kind of like an introduction of what it's like for me, Damon, to have DID. And it's very confusing, disorienting, but it's also an adventure. I've also lived through quite a bit of stuff. The body's lived through quite a bit of stuff, but we've made it through, and that's what counts. We are survivors, and I just really am sharing this because, I want realism for DID, because I know that I can't control the people out there whether or not they have DID, whether or not they're faking it or not. But I know at the end of the day, I'm not faking it. Too much shit has happened to the body. Sorry for the cussing. Too much stuff has happened to the body, and too much of our life is falling apart for this to be fake. And I'm just saying that for myself because I denial spiral. And so I'm not in denial anymore. I take responsibility for my diagnosis, and I am not my diagnosis as well. I'm a nonconformist, but I also have to focus more, which is what I said, is I want to focus more on what I do have control over and how I respond to the things that are thrown my way. I think that's how I get through the day, and that's one step at a time, just like they say in recovery. And so thanks for letting me share. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email them to us. Our email is anonymousbeats8@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. So we also have a GoFundMe I left in the description box, and that's to help fund our music as well as our channel. We're a new channel, so we could use as much help as we can get, as well as we're on the verge of homelessness. So it'd really be helping us out if you could donate what you can, and it doesn't even have to be like a lot, just a couple bucks would really save us right now. We're just kind of going through a really tough time and uncertain times. So with that, I will say thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next time. And this was Damon. Thanks.